today's Saturday, it's the 6th of December 2025, and we're actually at the Apedale Heritage Centre, and it's raining a bit, so I need to gone inside because it's a bit wet out here. That's just been the story of us being in the UK so far, but something a little bit different. Oh, there she is, look, waiting for me at the door. A little bit of a kiln there, just to give you an idea. It's a bit of a museum, and we've actually come for breakfast. So they've got a bit of a cafe here. Well, we're in Staffordshire and it's breakfast time, so that's what we've come for, Staffordshire breakfast. These are Staffordshire oatcakes, and there's different fillings, but my favourite is bacon, cheese and tomatoes, and they are absolutely delicious.
So where am I?
Always like to go into a museum.
Where do you want me? And used to get these
There's a mine, got his stick. Use that.
So we've got a bit of history.
Hello.
Old days when it was no heating. Oh, you stepped through that door.
Chesterton Miners Hall, that's right.
The average viewing time was what, about 10-15 seconds?
And we used to have
Spent hours in here really getting it all.
And the area's got a lot of history, including Roman history.
Sometimes forget the miners go to this country.
yeah, Raleigh.
Camp here in Chesterton.
No miners, no
I
railway.
didn't even know that. I didn't know that actually. It's
No
a bit
industry.
of news to me.
Without coal. For, all the way up until just after the war.
I think the Romans
Some of the finds that they've had, Roman finds.
Apart from that, we did it all ourselves.
Pottery is one thing that always seems to last. There's actually a nice oil lamp.
The Romans were here, and now we're here.
And we've seen outside the mosaics. Roman coins. Of course, we're in the potteries, so things made out of clay. Bricks of all colours and types, with the names of the makers stamped into them. There you go, Port Vale. There's another one, Port Vale, Burslem. And some of the bricks made a little bit more fancy. City of Gloucester. This loco was new to the City of Gloucester Waterworks. It was initially preserved by Doughty Railway Preservation Society, Ashchurch, then Leicester Museum of Technology. Whilst in Leicester, the loco was partially scrapped to allow for the removal of the engine and the gearbox for other projects. It came to Cadby Light Railway 1990, comprising a frame, 2 very bad wheel sets, and not much more. Eventually the replacement engine was located, courtesy of the Nene Valley Railway, and that provided the impetus to rebuild the locomotive after one of the largest restoration projects ever undertaken of this type of locomotive. It ran for the first time in many years on the 21st of January 2012. Nice story of restoration. This is one of the mine trains. It's funny how it's painted white, isn't it? Typical sort of narrow gauge railway engine. There's the driver, would be sitting there facing this way, popping his eyes over the top. A little bit of geology there. That's my neck of the woods. This is what they were doing. They were mining for coal, the black stuff. And in amongst it all, lots of fossils of all different sorts. Some of them animals, but lots of them plants. So a lot of these would be, of course, because it's coal, this is the Carboniferous period, and we've got pieces of wood, trees. Even some leaves there that have got impressed into the rock. Looks like an old tree trunk. Stump of a tree there. And then we've got the ammonites, smallish ones, much bigger ones down there. And also in this area, a lot of ironstone. Orangey colour, showing the presence of iron. As I was sitting having my oatcake, I was talking to Laura and saying what a dangerous job, dirty job, awful really, and so mines rescue was an important facility that they had, and that was another extremely dangerous job, going to rescue people who'd been where there'd been cave-ins and the like. Here's some rescue teams from down the ages. Chatley Whitfield team there. I actually went down Chatley Whitfield and it was a mining museum, and you were allowed to go down in the cage. You'd be lowered down a long, long way. Thousands of feet, I think. They're double-decker cages, I seem to remember there. Breathing apparatus. So these are some of the cables. When you go down on these cages, they've got to be held by steel cables, and the steel cables, well, an inch thick, those. Crucible for holding molten metal. Just a few different things. Oh my goodness, there's a slide rule there. Look at that one. Shaving brush, I still use one of those. And a snuff box. remember Isle toilet paper. Used to use it as tracing paper for school, I think. Pit Pony's bridle. Miners' Union ties. I've seen a few of these certificates. Silverdale, used to be a mine in Silverdale. We're in Apedale now. Silverdale's just along the way, and that's where my uncles worked, both Paul and David. Put things in perspective, Paul was my uncle and Angela was his wife. Sadly, Paul passed away a few years ago. Lovely collection of miners' lamps. Everything had to be insulated, and the miner's lamp was a particularly interesting invention. It's one of the things that they didn't want down coal mines was sparks or flames. These did have both sparks and flames, but they were made in such a way, designed by Humphrey Davy, so that they didn't cause explosions. And any electrical things which might have had a battery in could have had a spark, and that might have caused an explosion. So everything had to be properly insulated and sealed. These are colliery checks, so you went down a mine, you had a check to make sure that you came back. So you were always checking the checks. Dirty business, so you had to have showers, and you had two sorts of lockers. So there was a dirty locker and a clean locker. So you'd come into work in the morning, take your clean clothes and put them in the clean locker, and put on your dirty clothes from the dirty locker. You'd go to work, you'd come back, you'd take off your dirty clothes, and you'd have your shower over there, and then you could put your clean clothes on to go back. So showering was a part of the daily routine. And I've been to lots of houses that would have looked very much like this in my youth. Many houses had a piano, just like that. In the corner there's a radiogram, and that's where you'd listen to the radio. My mother and my grandmother both had treadle sewing machines just like this one, the Singer sewing machine, which they used to use, and yeah, almost identical to that one. I've got the 78 records there. The china cabinet. Every home in Stoke-on-Trent must have had a china cabinet to display the china, because a lot of people working in the china industry used to have seconds that they would bring home. You could hardly tell the difference between a second and a first. It might just have had one little mark on it somewhere, and it was then put to one side, and so we would have lots of those. Even the mirror on the wall and the clock on the mantelpiece. Yeah, I can remember lots of houses like this. I don't quite remember having a record player like that, but I couldn't have been far behind. His master's voice. I certainly remember typewriters like that. There's some of the pictures of mining and just what a difficult, dirty and hard job it was. And virtually no mining left in the UK, coal mining, so it's almost completely gone, there's hardly any. But it was really a really hard job, very dirty, very, very dangerous. And sometimes the roof, you can see the pictures at the bottom, people couldn't stand up. I went to Woolstanton Colliery when it was actually a working mine, and went down there, and the face was only about 4 feet, so there's no way you could stand up. Every few metres, or no, not even that, every few feet, there'd be something to bang your head on. Forever banging my head. So those hard hats, extremely important. And everyone, of course, had a lamp, a miner's lamp. These are the explosive sticks that they used in some mines to help get the coal out. Archie Andrews, my goodness, the ventriloquist. A Dalek there from 1975. Blue Peter books. This is lots of my childhood here, including Cluedo, which I didn't realise how old that game was. But, they've just been bringing out new versions of it, and they were talking about it's a really, really old game. Just coming back to this. Yeah, slightly older looking scene from a miner's home. But the tin bath there, we used to have a tin bath, and I can remember as a little boy having a tin bath in front of a fire like that. So not too dissimilar. Ours was a white one, I think it was enamel, so it was a bit posh. And I remember the big tables like this in the kitchen, and as a little boy, so you can tell how little I was, be hiding underneath that and have a big tablecloth over. And just remembering the light switch, which I don't think you can see very well, but that's the light switch. And as a little boy, I would tinker, and I would take off the cover of that and look at the connections inside, and I remember once touching one and getting my first electric shock. Hanging from the ceiling, we have the rack, and that's where we would dry our clothes. You can't hang it outside. We've been here for nearly a week now, and it's rained pretty much every day. You can't dry your clothes outside. We didn't have tumble dryers in those days. We didn't even have spin dryers at the beginning. And so hanging things from the rack, we had a mangle. I haven't seen a mangle yet. We did have a mangle which helped to dry the clothes, and my mother's washing machine was a newfangled thing. It had an electric mangle. I remember getting my hand stuck in that once. Oof, frightening. Early washing. This is a dolly tub. That's the tub, and that's the dolly, the thing, and you used to put your clothes in there. And the bottom of the toilet's got like wooden spokes on it, and you just move the clothes around inside the water. And there's the boiler, and I seem to remember having a boiler, and my grandparents having a boiler. And a washboard here, look. I think Lonnie Donegan made the best use of those. It's a miner's belt. I mentioned that the mangle. We had an electric one, but here's a hand-driven mangle. It's actually chained up there, but the mangle, you put your clothes in and it sort of squashed them. You could tighten it up with these, and it would get all the water out. There's the old-fashioned toilet. Lots of houses had outside toilets, and basically it was just a piece of wood with a hole in, and I'm not sure where it went to down below. Chamber pot by the side of it. A mini mangler. That's not a real one, that's a children's toy. And then this rubbish bin here, it's a galvanised iron bin. It was referred to as an ash bin, and it was made out of metal, and the ashes from the fire, which may still be hot, were put in there. We as boys used to make fires in them as well. So next to the toilet we had the coal house, and that's where the coalmen would come and they would bring their bags of coal. You'd have a delivery of coal, and they would just empty them in there. You can see there's some wooden boards at the front. They would, and when it was empty, you'd gradually remove the boards. But when you filled it up, you put the boards in. The boards could go up quite high as they filled it in. We used to get 20 bags, I seem to remember, of coal at a time. And it used to always be fun watching the coalmen deliver it. They used to bring them on their backs with like a leather cover on the backs, and then they would just tip them in there, empty the coal, and the grandmother would make them a cup of tea. And then also you obviously need some sticks, so any bits of wood we used to save, and that'd be the sticks. That was what you'd use to start the fire. Musical instruments, records. So, had accidents, so they had to have an infirmary. So this museum is attached to what was the Apedale Mine, and it is actually open to the public. We could go down there today, and you go down, it's a drift mine, so it's one you can actually walk into, as opposed to one where you get lowered down in a cage. So the drift mine you can walk in, and this one is still open so that you can walk into it. It doesn't go too deep, but it gives you a little bit of a feeling of what it was like to work underground in those dark, dirty, sometimes smelly environments. So if it wasn't a drift mine, you had a cage, and so you needed a set of winding gear. So this is the winding gear, and there's a big wheel at the top, and that cable that I showed you, which should be about 1 inch across. And there'd be several of those onto a cage, which would be lowered down deep into the ground. And then just at the back there, you can see one of these wheels, really big things. When I used to teach here in Stoke-on-Trent, we used to take trips to Chatley-Whitfield. This wasn't a mining museum when I lived here. I think it was still a working museum. Chatley-Whitfield became a mining museum, and we used to take the children there. They had a similar sort of display, but you also had the opportunity to go down the deep mine in the cage. Really an exciting event. These are newspaper cuttings, newspaper front pages from the Evening Sentinel of 1937. charity match. Stoke City versus Glasgow Rangers. It's a pretty stained glass window. This is from Apedale Hall. A magnificent building. It's not one I'm familiar with at all. I'm just come across this Convatch's College notebook on notes in mining chemistry from 1908-1909. It's one of the experiments pretty much I used to do was distillation of coal. So when I went down the coal mine, and I've been down a few times, I can remember having these like battery packs. They're made out of aluminium again, so no sparks. You weren't allowed to take matches, cigarette lighters, even cigarettes you were not allowed to take down. So miners who got the habit used to have chewing tobacco. Some of the instruments for doing surveys, that's theodolite. I've used one of those. Nothing to do with mining, but I've used one of those. This is chain measuring. I've read about that, never actually done it. And it's measuring slopes. There's a school desk. I used to sit at a school desk exactly like that. And just before we leave, some more things made out of the local pottery here. These are roof tiles. We've seen some bricks, there's some more bricks here. Lots of different roof tiles. It's still made in the area as far as I know. Chimney pots, and with the chimney pots you need a chimney sweep, and there's the sweeping brush. My grandfather used to have one of them, sweeping the chimney.
Trying to get started.
Oh, it's not beautiful.
Government has said no new mining there. A little bit goes on in the Forest of Dean.
Well, I've come back outside now, and one of the things Anita's been talking about is the birds. There's actually a robin out there. You can see
Where's
it.
the robin? Oh yes, I love it.
It's nice to see before Christmas. Just looking out of this window, we've got the railway line. There's a little steam railway that runs about a mile along the road there. And of course there's the drift mine, which we won't have a chance to go down today, but maybe again in the future. And there's that blue sky I'm seeing up there. It might have stopped raining. But no, it is still raining out here. It is a country park, so there's lots of walks you can do outside here into the country park, but I think it might be a little bit muddy today. And that's the light railway. Well, I'm afraid that's it for today. We'll see you in the next one, so bye for now.